But I also believe all art is political. Like, for
Hmm.
example, when we did that mural, half the police department showed up and actually using arts to test out solutions for how they could approach the government, how they could actually
Wow.
influence politicians, for example.
Welcome, creative community. Today, behind the studio door, we will be chatting with Dannie Snyder. She is an interdisciplinary artivist currently living near Lynchburg, Virginia. And Dannie is what I call a real Renaissance woman. She is a filmmaker, a theater practitioner, spoken word artist, percussionist. She's a great drummer, actually, visual and performing arts instructor, and the author of Artivism of Returning Citizens, Artists, Activists of the Nation's Capital, Impacting the Prison Abolitionist Movement. And as an activist, she has fought for social and political change for a variety of causes. And last but not least, she is the co-host of the podcast Reflect, Recalibrate, where fellow artivists will find a lot of free resources. Welcome, Dannie, and thanks for being here this evening.
Thank you. Thank you. Gosh, you make me sound so good.
Yeah, well, you are so good,
I'm
and you got
blushing.
yeah, it's all right there in your bio. So for those not familiar with the terms, could you please define arts activism and why you prefer the term artivism? I'm assuming you prefer the term artivism because you've got these really cool T-shirts for sale on your website.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
wearing
there,
one of
you're
them
rocking
right
it right
now if
now.
you're watching the video. Yeah. So I like the term artivist, but I think it's simply because I like the word artivista. That's
Mm,
where the word comes from. Well, okay, so there's not a lot of research out there of where the term artivista really originated,
hmm,
but I'm pretty sure it came from the Chicano movement and from the Zapatista movement. So I like the word. To me, it's better than creative activist or artistic activist. It's simpler.
hmm. Yeah, artistic activist sounds like you're going to be very creative in the way that you do your activism or something.
Right, right.
Yeah,
And
it's a
there
little
is that.
confusing, I think. Yeah,
Yeah, sometimes I
yeah.
work with people who come more from an activist background and
Okay.
they're looking for ways to be more creative in their activism and
Hmm.
we're tapping into some of their artistic skills and sometimes you have people who are like, "Oh, I'm not artistic at all." And I'm like, "That's a lie." So we just need to find it. We just need to find that part in you. When I think of artistic activism or creative activism, to me
Hmm.
it's still separating the two and I feel like so much of what I do now is so intertwined. There's a social
Hmm.
justice thing happening in any art that I do. But I also believe all art is political. It's how deep you want to get into defining it and interpreting it. It's also can be based off of the intention. Was the artist actually trying to be political? Maybe they weren't. But how can
Hmm.
this piece be viewed in history, in how it was a factor in changing culture, in changing society in any way?
You say on your website that as an interdisciplinary artivist, my aim is to foster dialogues and communities. What calls you in the direction of arts activism as the focus for your creative practice?
So first I'll address the community part. When I was doing film, mostly film, but theater too, but when I was working in the film industry, I was seeing a lot of narratives around white characters. Not always
Right.
white male characters, but white characters, and even the scripts that I was writing usually had a white protagonist, male or female. And when I did my first feature film, I was trying to make it more diverse. I was thinking about, like, for example, my gay godfathers who were like, "We never find films for us. We never see
Mm,
movies that are meant for us, so we don't go really to the movies anymore." And I was like, oh my, like to me, that was so tragic at the time because I was like
Right.
deep in the film industry and was very passionate about becoming a famous film director and screenwriter. And so I was like, okay, so I'm going to write a script that has like at least one gay character every time, you know? But even as I was doing it, and I'm looking at all these different grant opportunities for filmmakers that were really designed for marginalized artists, I was like, you know what? I need to read the room a little bit here. I think I need to take a step back and let other voices that are not being heard and expressed, give them the spotlight, give them the stage, and find ways to support them. So that's when I first started thinking like I want to help other artists, and I want to help foster community and foster dialogue between artists. So finding these artists who are struggling to get their stories told, how can I help bring them support? So not just
Mhm.
me coming in and contributing, but like, oh, I also know this photographer, or I also know this, music composer or whatever. And in the process of doing that, the dialogue wasn't just about the story being told, but also about the impact it was going to have on other communities. So it wasn't just about
Mhm.
the community of artists and being able to express yourself. It was also about the power of art to
Mhm.
influence society, to influence culture. And I accidentally also took a class. I took a class in community theater during college, and I thought it was going to be about how to run a community theater organization. I thought it was going to be more about the
Mhm.
business of a nonprofit in theater. And when I got there, it was like, no, 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 no. This is about, because this was in England. I was studying in England. This was like my first class that I had signed up for while I was studying at the University of Huddersfield, which is just outside of Manchester. And I signed up for this class, and they were like, "Oh, no, no, no. This is not about community theater like American community theater. This is about doing theater to impact the community, to change a community." And
Wow.
I was kind of like, "Well, you know what? I'm not really interested in that. I just want to write films and theater and plays and whatever about whatever stories come out of my creative brain." And well, I was kind of stuck in the class at this point, but as I got deeper into it and started learning about these different theories like theater of the oppressed and pedagogy of the oppressed, and Augusto Boal, for example, he's the one who created theater of the oppressed, and he's from Brazil and was using theater in Brazil to really change politics, to change policy, to get people in a community, in a village together, and actually using arts to test out solutions for how they could approach the government, how they could actually
Wow.
influence politicians, for example. So like,
Wow.
let me tangent here for a second just to give an example. It's like, imagine Augusto Boal comes into a village and he enacts this play with a couple of actors to the village, and it's about people from that village and how they're being oppressed by the government. And the
Mhm.
story ends badly. The play ends horribly. And the people in the audience were like, "No, that's not what we want. We don't want to see that to happen." It's like, "Okay, well, what do you want to see happen?" And actually be
Okay.
bringing people from the audience on stage, in fact, to even enact it
Wow.
out. Not just the actors like, "Okay, well, let's change it. What if we did it like this?" But even
Wow.
getting people from the audience, spectators, to become actors, spect
Mm.
actors,
Mhm.
and actually trying out different solutions and seeing what happens, and then leaving that space with a toolkit essentially of like, we could do this, we could do this, we could do this. This is probably going to be the most effective, and then actually doing those things in real life.
That's
So,
fascinating.
yeah,
That's
so when
really
I
fascinating.
I'm learning all this and I'm like, okay, this is way more meaningful to me than just writing scripts. So I was having this huge transformation of like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I really want to be a famous director writer where it's just about me. I
Right.
want to do something that's more meaningful and helping other people. So again, everything was coming back to community. It's how to build community within a production, how to build community with an audience, and then how all of that can shape
Mhm.
history. And that was really the calling, I would say, but really, like, truly, I want to look at BIPOC and LGBTQ.
Yeah.
I wanna look at those marginalized stories and support those.
Mhm.
And it's funny, ever since I put that on my website, especially living in an area like Lynchburg, it's very conservative. Wow,
Mm.
I can tell it upsets people, and
Really?
they assume a lot about my politics just from that statement.
Yeah.
So that's a whole other thing too, but I
Mm.
decided, nope, I'm gonna keep that there. I really am.
Well, it's true to you,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
your mission statement, for lack of a better
Right.
phrase,
Right. I
your
had thought,
aim.
like, do I make it more
Mhm.
vague so I can attract more people and
Right.
so they don't get so scared of what I'm
Mhm.
doing? But I was like, no, I can't. I
Yeah.
can't.
At one point, you had mentioned to me that you thought that the term authenticity was overused in the art world. And I
Mm,
was curious if you meant just, the word or the concept. But this is a
mm.
great example that you felt called to be your authentic self and hold fast to that boundary, for lack of a better word. At the end of the day, someone else's fear, if they're afraid of your imagery or your content or whatever, that really speaks more about them, I think, than in a lot of ways, than it does about you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so back to the authenticity question. Do you still feel that way, that authenticity is an overused term, and why?
By some people, yeah.
Hmm.
In when I hear an artist use it, I don't twitch. I think that some people use the word authentic and authenticity too much. And that's why I steer away from it because I just feel like it's used so much in the marketing world, but it's not a bad
Gotcha.
word. It's not a bad word.
Yeah.
I would still use it when it would be appropriate, but I
Yeah.
try to, like, think of other words. Like, for example, I really like the word spectacle, and I think about that
Hmm.
word a lot. Like, we use in theater, for example, I always was drawn to the book. Now I can't remember the title of the book. It was like an old book. The word I'm looking for is actually not spectacle. It's theater, the astonish or astonish theater, but he talked about spectacle and about how
Hmm.
important spectacle is in theater, and now obviously in the theater of politics and in everything. But that's a bit of a tangent. But I do look at other words that we don't use very often, like astonish.
That's a nice word.
Astonish is a great word, right?
That's a nice word.
I got it somewhere on that shelf too, right next to me, but astonish me, that's what it's called,
Mm,
astonish me, bring me spectacle, you know?
mm.
But yeah, and so spectacle, astonish, there's other, I think, really great words out there.
My word of the month.
What's your word?
My word is unabashed.
Ooh.
Isn't that a great word?
I actually used you as an example too in our
Unabashed.
last podcast episode. I said Amy said recently that she was the queen of pivot.
I
And I
am.
was
I'm the
like, and
queen of
right now,
pivoting.
pivot is the word of the year,
Pivot
man.
is the word of the
Pivot.
year.
But I like
Pivot.
unabashed. That's good.
So, as an artivist, how do you personally define success in your artivism? Because sometimes you'll have the opportunity, I would imagine, to have measurable results, but there are other ways, perhaps, that you feel that artivism is a rewarding path. Like, I'm thinking, perhaps, is it when you see those intersectional dialogues happening and those communities being built? Like, how do you define success in your artivism?
This is a very important question. And this is a question we bring up in our podcast, Reflect, Recalibrate, because we want to know we're making an impact. And we can't do
Right.
that unless we measure it. You have to measure it, right? So it can be as simple as, like, how many dialogues did we have? The goal might
Mm,
be like, if the goal is to foster dialogue, well, how much dialogue did we foster?
mhm.
And that's why I love me some SMART goals. I know they're very cliche, but I love me some SMART goals, and my students will hate me for constantly making them write out SMART goals. But it's important to go into the process with an idea of how you want to measure it, but an idea of, like, how many people do we want to try to
Mhm.
foster dialogue,
Mhm. Mhm.
and did we reach that number of people?
Mhm.
So it could be as simple as that. It could be something really huge, like we want to change policy. Well, did the policy change?
Right.
Yes or no? Did we
Right.
get a step closer? And this is where burnout is for sure a thing,
Yeah.
because in the kind of work that we do takes many, many years.
Yeah.
And a lot of times
True.
things get totally undone and you have to redo it all again.
Mm. Yeah.
So That's why small SMART goals are good instead of like one giant SMART goal. I'm like, let's at least scaffold it. That's another great
Mhm.
word. Let's scaffold our SMART goals instead of
Mm.
jumping all the way to changing policy. That's the
Mm.
big goal, utopia, you could say in a way.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
what are the smaller objectives between now and there? That way
Mhm.
we feel like
Right.
we're actually making a difference and we're not
Right.
exhausting ourselves when we don't
Right.
see something changed immediately.
Like stepping stones along the way.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. Because you also got to be able to
that makes
give
sense.
people breaks too. You can't expect them to
Mhm.
always be in the fight for their whole life. You got to let
Yeah.
people take a year off sometimes.
Yeah, let him
So,
breathe, let him breathe.
yeah, it's for real, and there's times with me too where
Mhm.
I was like, I need to take a pause here, like, I need to
Mhm.
take care of myself, I need to take a huge step back
Yeah.
and not even watch the news for a while
Right,
sometimes,
sure.
which
Absolutely.
I hate doing, but sometimes I got to. So,
Mhm.
yeah, that's a whole other thing too, burnout and mental health, but the measurement for me, for example, as a teacher, I always come back to being a teacher. I
Mhm.
always feel personally, if I go into a classroom where I'm teaching about art and activism, if I inspire at least one kid, I feel
Yeah,
successful. My
that's great.
goal is all the kids, right?
Yeah,
But
ideally. Yeah.
ideally. So, like
Mhm.
right now, I've been teaching a class at an elementary school here called Deerington
Mhm.
Elementary School. And in fact, tomorrow they're going to be doing a presentation at this school assembly, and they wouldn't let me see it actually. They're going to do a
Mhm.
presentation about our class as like kind of like a reflective piece of what we've been working on and
Mm.
share it with the wider community of what we've been doing.
Mhm.
So I'm not allowed to see what they put together, so I'm
Oh,
excited. I'm
wow.
excited tomorrow to see what little presentation they've put together. But yeah, I'm like those 2 kids that volunteered to do this presentation, if I leave tomorrow feeling like, "Wow, those 2 kids I
Yeah.
know are gonna
Yeah.
continue this work," boom, I feel
Right.
successful.
You feel success, yeah.
But here's the other thing. This is the hard part about measuring, right? Like, let's say my goal was like all 30 of those kids to inspire them, right? Let's say I met that. But what about when they have this presentation tomorrow? Maybe there's someone in the audience who's like, "This is
Mhm.
cool. I wanna do this."
Right.
And they go and start doing it, I don't know, like, I might never know about that. It's really cool when I do
True.
find out about that,
Right.
but that's the other thing too to keep in mind is there's impact where we're never gonna be able to measure
You're
it. We're
never
never
gonna
gonna see
know.
it.
Yeah.
I did a mural recently. Who knows how many people looked at it? I've even created postcards with the kids that helped to make that mural that we've been handing out around town to get them to do a survey
Oh,
because we
great.
thought this might help us to measure the impact of that mural. But we've accepted there's going to be plenty of people who've seen that
Sure.
mural who are not going to do that survey. There's going to be
Right.
people who've seen that mural who aren't even able to do the survey because it involves a
Mhm.
QR code and going online. So
Mhm. Yeah.
there's other ways that you can end up measuring impact that wasn't part of your SMART goal. Like, for
Mhm.
example, when we did that mural, half the police department showed up. I was not expecting that at all. And because they showed up, the press showed up and like there was all this happening at our mural that day that I was like, well, I didn't account for any of that. I wasn't expecting any of this. So our measurement goals, I was like, we're now going to reach people online. We're going to reach people that
Yeah.
watch television. Like we're going to reach all these other people we didn't even think about or consider when we started, when we went into this. So that was
It
very, very cool.
In what capacity did the police initially show up? Because
Right.
I remember seeing your post on Instagram that you put them to work. They had paintbrushes in their hands, which was brilliant. But were they just curious or wanting to check it out, or were they coming to help, or like why did they initially show up?
So I don't actually know 100%, but what I'm pretty sure happened, but my colleague from this was in partnership with Horizon Behavioral Health. And my colleague from Horizon, she I think was the one who first directly spoke to the officers. So she would know better. But what I'm pretty sure
Hmm.
happened is they just rolled up just to see what was going on. And
Yeah,
at
just
first I
curious.
panicked
Hmm.
because I was like getting ready to be like, no, we have permission. And
Right.
like, here's the name of the guy that owns the building and all that. Cause we are in an area and I will say the word crazy, but it wasn't a crazy idea for them to think like something illegal might be happening.
Or if it was a graffiti,
Right.
not. Yeah, and without permission. Yeah,
Right,
gotcha.
which when you first looking
Mhm,
at the design, it's kinda like, "What's happening in this image?" Like, when you're first starting a
mhm.
mural, it can look really weird, right?
Oh, sure.
It's
Yeah,
these
sure.
just random black outlines, and we had very bright colored paint, but yeah, and then one of them, like, I guess, radioed in, and the next thing I know, it's like
Oh,
all these
wow.
cops showed up, and then the media showed up, and I was like, "This is awesome." Like, we got a part of the community that I wasn't really intending, and I say I, it's we weren't really intending to reach that part of our of a community or that
Yeah,
collective of Lynchburg. We were really focused on the people who lived in that neighborhood, right?
gotcha. Mhm.
And that was really, really cool. And honestly, like I have had some good interactions with officers, but I haven't always had good interactions with officers. So of
Mm.
course a little like panic, struck. But when they were like, "This is cool. This is really cool." I was like, "Great. Here's a paintbrush. Here's," because that was the idea. It's like we wanted people to stop by and be like, "What is this? Hey, here, help fill this section in with blue." So we wanted them to take some ownership over it. But
Mhm.
it
Yeah,
was funny. There
yeah.
was one police officer who could not paint at all. It was so funny.
Oh,
Like
well,
I was very patient with him, but after he left, I had to fix his
well,
flower. I had to fix it a lot.
well, I'm sure he did his best,
He
and I'm
did. I
sure
was so glad
and
he
I'm sure
still
he
did
had
it.
fun.
I'm so glad he still did it. Yeah.
That's right.
But that's what
So
it's all about. Yeah.
yeah, you've put your energy towards a variety of important causes. So, is there one area where, going back to the idea of success, like where you feel your efforts have been most successful?
Maybe within nutrition, which stems from access to medicine,
Mm,
during the pandemic, I was part of the
mm-hmm,
bipartisan campaign, which a lot of what I
mm-hmm,
do is non-political too.
mm-hmm,
Some of it's bipartisan, some is non-political.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
That's why I don't like it when people assume everything about my politics.
mm-hmm,
But I was part of a bipartisan campaign to increase access to the COVID vaccine. Then I somehow ended up with this job, and it really does feel like I don't know how it happened, but I somehow ended up with this job working within nutrition, not a nutritionist at all. I'm an awesome teacher, but I ended up somehow teaching kids about why they should eat their fruits and vegetables. And really
mm-hmm,
the that job was really rooted in, I mean, first of all, it was funded by SNAP Ed, which is cut
mm-hmm.
recently, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And by the big beautiful bill. And see, that's a
mm-hmm,
word I
right.
also don't like right now. The word beautiful, that's
Mm-hmm.
another word I've been avoiding lately.
It's
But
subjective.
the job was funded by SNAP Ed, so it was rooted in increasing access to healthy foods for low
Mm-hmm,
income families, but particularly children, right?
mm-hmm,
And increasing education around healthy foods as well as how to cook healthy on a budget, because there's this myth that
mm-hmm,
like, oh, I can't eat healthy when I have no money, and that's it's a
mm.
myth. That's a myth.
Yeah, that's not true. Yeah.
Yeah, you can eat healthy on a limited budget. It's just a question of how, and sometimes involves some creativity too, right?
Mm, absolutely.
So the teaching kids to eat their fruits and vegetables, especially the littles, super fun and
Mm-hmm,
easy. Teaching them how to grow fruits and vegetables too, which I had no gardening experience at all. And then somehow now I'm facilitating a community garden. Didn't see that anywhere. If you had shown me a crystal ball like 20 years ago, never thought I would be putting my hands in dirt. Like, it's not like I don't like getting dirty, but I just didn't. I was like, no, that's boring. That's so boring for me, putting a seed and then watching it grow. And now
oh,
that's what I want to do. Yeah.
yeah, I love it. I love it.
So I would probably say that's my biggest impact, but it is the most recent, so that might be the other reason why it feels really
Yeah,
big. Because
fair
as you
enough.
saw,
Fair enough.
I wrote a whole book about prison abolition, but
Yes.
I s- I would to be very honest. I mean, I did do some activism in that, but it was
Mhm.
more research. I was doing so much
Yeah.
research about prison abolition, and
Mhm.
a lot of my activism was around spreading research and
Mhm.
sharing facts
The facts,
about
yeah.
our prison system. And with access to medicine and access to healthy foods, I feel like I've been doing more like on the grounds
Literally.
actions. Yeah, 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 but like
Literally,
literally, yeah.
figuratively, yeah.
So
Quite literally. Yeah.
not just
Mhm.
sharing research, which I mean, when you're teaching, you are sharing knowledge or
Right.
sharing information, but we're actually like doing things. We're actually like planting stuff. I'm actually
Mhm.
facilitating markets where we give out free
Mhm.
produce to people in the community in need. These kind of actions, working with the
Mhm.
food bank and I feel like I've been doing more in that. Like I've
Mhm.
really like doing more and not just
Right.
analyzing it and studying it
Right.
from a
Like boots on
distance.
the ground,
Yeah.
making a difference one person at a time,
Yeah. Which
yeah.
to be fair, I think about this the book The Art of Protest by TV Reed. That's a great book. And in that book, he has this quote where he talks about how when we're looking at history of social movements, we tend to look at these
Mhm.
big moments like the marches, the
Mhm.
down DC.
Mhm.
We look at numbers, the quantity
Mhm.
of people at these marches. That's how we determine that that was a successful moment in history.
Mhm.
And as we know, quantity isn't everything. Changing one student, that might be the one student who
Mhm.
ends up becoming president one day. You never know. So, and then they'd be like, I was inspired by Danny Snyder. Wouldn't that be amazing? That would actually make me feel really successful if one of my students became some incredible, amazing leader in our world. But the TV read, he's like, we have to remember all these moments in the basements of churches, of planning, and all these different roles. It wasn't just
Mhm.
MLK Jr. making the
Mhm.
speech. It was also all these people doing research and doing polls and all of that is activism.
Mhm.
So even
Mhm.
me doing research is still a form of activism. So it doesn't
Mhm.
always have to be out like handing out food to people. That's great too. We need people to do that, but we need people in all these different roles.
Mhm.
And so I think about that a lot with marches. Like as a teacher, I have to be really careful that I'm not arrested at a protest, right?
That would
So
be bad.
that would be really bad. That could mess up
Not
a lot
ideal.
of, yeah, not ideal. So, and that's what I tell people. It's okay if you can't be that person on the front line putting a
Right.
flower in the gun. Yeah, so it's all these different parts, like the person handing out water bottles at a protest. That's
Mhm.
activism, and that is just as important as the person in the front line. Everyone is equally
Mhm.
important.
Sure. Mhm.
Everyone's equally important,
Yeah.
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 So, I just wanna make sure too that it doesn't sound like I'm undermining my book or anything I did in prison abolition, but I do feel like, that I just and again, maybe it's 'cause it's been a more recent project, but I feel like I've been doing a lot with access
Mhm.
to healthy
To the
food.
food, yeah. Well, I took how you described that as not undermining your book and its efficacy, but that was a more mental pursuit, so to speak, rather than it's very physical, hands
Mhm.
planting the seeds, metaphorically and literally, with the food. Everything from drumming to filmmaking. Is the thread that connects all of these aspects artivism for you, or is there another connecting thread?
Everything artivism. That's why I
Everything's
call
artivism.
myself
Yeah.
an interdisciplinary
Yeah,
artivist.
that's what I
And it
thought.
took me
Yeah.
a while to come to that, the
Mhm.
title of like,
Mhm.
how do I have
Mhm.
one phrase that sums up
Right.
everything that I do?
Because you
But
do a
yeah,
lot. You do a
yeah.
lot.
And sometimes I feel like with drumming,
Mhm.
I'm like,
Mhm.
you know, I'm like, I perform in a band, I make money doing it. That's really how I make my money. Sometimes that might seem like, well, how is that artivism? But it totally is. For example, like when I have a lot of female drum students.
I've noticed that in your posts.
It's awesome. And
It
now when
is
I lived in
awesome.
Austin, I had tons. Here in Lynchburg, there's not a lot of demand for drum
Mhm.
lessons in general here.
Mhm.
It's but there's a big music community here.
Oh, that's cool.
But I think because of the way music is taught in school, I think that's a
Mm.
big factor.
Mhm.
For example, a lot of young kids, the only option they have at school is to learn violin.
Oh, okay.
So they stick to violin and they don't. do
Mhm.
drums. And then
Mm.
maybe in middle school, maybe they start in percussion, but I've had a
Mhm.
lot of students who didn't get into percussion until after they'd done clarinet or after they'd done some other
Mhm.
instrument. And then I get a lot of these women who are my age, in their 20s or in their 30s, maybe 40s and 50s even. And they always wanted to do it, but they were dissuaded from it.
Right.
Right. So from day one, our lessons about
Mhm.
feminism.
Right. Right.
And a lot of it, gender studies ends up being a part of the conversation.
That's
And
cool.
when we're looking at different types of music that we want to
Mhm.
play, not just looking at music written by men. Let's look at music
Mhm.
also written by women. And the drumming thing too can even be very artivisty.
Mhm.
And I have definitely with this new band I'm in, these guys are so passionate about so many different issues. In fact, I felt very welcomed when I came to rehearsal and they had this big colorful sign outside the house that said all are welcome here. And it
Oh,
just
great.
yeah, and like and it was a little bit of like, you could tell like, okay, they're probably a little bit more liberal here. But I like too that they're different. Like one person's
Mhm.
very atheist and one person's very
Mm.
Christian, and we have different views and
Mhm.
opinions, but
Mm.
there's so much empathy and love for each
Mm.
other and love for music. Like we have a joke called the love fest where we'll, especially if things get little like maybe tense, which it never gets stressful as like far as like no one ever gets mad at each other or anything like that. But
Mhm.
like if there was like a maybe a weird moment on stage or whatever, we'll be like, okay, love fest. I love you. 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 Like we just tell each other and we love each other so much. It's like, okay, great, let's go make music. But
Mm.
the way that there's so much love, and it just brings me back to Dolly Parton, who everyone's like, "Oh, Dolly Parton's not an activist." And I was like, "Yeah, she is. She's very
Yeah.
smart activist because she does not tell you what her actual political opinion is, and she stays
Yeah.
right there in the middle so that she can get drag queens and cowboys to
Yeah.
both come to her show."
Yeah, she's
And empathy and compassion and
right.
like, yes, this is what music has the power to do, and this is what I
Yeah.
truly wanna do is
Mhm.
be in the middle, bring all people together. Like, when I had those people blowing up my social media the other day, like, "Oh my gosh, you're teaching transgender, blah, blah, blah," and I'm like,
Wow.
"I did not, I was not," but, I basically, like, I fought back with kindness. I definitely was triggered
There you
at
go.
certain at moments. That's another word I try to avoid, the word trigger,
Mhm.
but there were definitely moments where I was like, okay, you're making my blood boil a little bit. And I had to remind myself, like,
Mm.
this is actually not about me in this moment. This is clearly
Mhm.
about them and some of
Right.
their insecurities.
Right.
But I, I was like, I want to model empathy and love and
Mm.
compassion. That's what I really want to model here. So I'm going to do my very best to not just react and
Mhm.
to respond with kindness. And that is not to say that sometimes we need to
Mm.
get angry. In fact,
Right.
my next goal is I would love to write a book about anger and activism. When is anger necessary in activism? When
I love that.
when is it actually creating more problems rather
Mhm.
than helping us find a solution?
Right. So it sounds like you were calling upon your inner Dolly Parton to deal
Oh,
with the
totally. So I
trolls.
got her on my wall.
There she is.
Yeah. So, no, I love me some Dolly, and by working in the access to medicine the
Yeah, she
free
donated,
the
yeah.
vaccine campaign that I was a
Yeah.
part of in my access to medicine work, I got this close to meeting her, which was
Oh,
really
wow.
cool. Yeah, it was very
Ah,
cool.
one
Next
day.
time.
Life
Next
goal,
time.
life goal. So if you had to pick just one area of creative focus, what would it be and why?
I have to pick drums.
Yeah, I had a
That's
feeling
where
you
I
would say that.
started. That's where I
Yeah.
started, and if you took it away from me, my life would be over.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know that sounds so dramatic, but, it's funny. So I used to play in a West African group back in Texas,
Mhm.
and I learned a lot, particularly my friends were from Guinea. Most of my
Mhm.
friends were from Guinea,
Mhm.
and just about their practices and their
Mhm.
beliefs and values, and it was so funny. My friend, he said that I would guess, but I'm not sure, but in like across Guinea, when you quote unquote retire,
Hmm.
you don't play drums anymore.
Oh.
And I was like, what do you so I was like, yeah, I guess drums is your job. And when you retire, you don't do that job
Mhm.
anymore. But I
Mhm.
guess I didn't really ever think of it that way. And then he was like, no, 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 it's not like retiring. In his faith,
Mhm.
there's a point where you give up that to to God, to
Mhm.
Allah, where you
Mhm.
give that up,
Mhm.
and you're basically
Wow.
giving. It's like it's that's you don't
Mm.
do that anymore. That's now for the people who are following you, and for
Mhm.
that's like it's almost like a
Mm.
sacrifice, really. You're
Mhm.
sacrificing
Interesting.
it to these
Wow.
higher powers, and you just don't
Mhm.
do it anymore. And when you stop, you stop. That's it.
Wow.
And that blew my mind. I was like, "What do you mean you just stop?" I was like, "My
Yeah.
life would be over." And he'd be like, "No, Danny, you're being so dramatic." And I was like, "No, you're being dramatic. Like, why would you stop playing drums?" Like, I wouldn't accept this from him. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, but I never had really thought about it. I thought like, "Oh,
Mhm.
what if I lost an arm? Oh, I still got this one." But I was like, if I couldn't drum anymore,
Mhm.
I really don't know what I don't know what I would do. So
It's
it's
like the drummer for Def Leppard.
yeah, exactly.
What?
No, exactly.
Yeah, I think it was a car
Yeah.
accident, wasn't it? Anyway, he lost an arm, but he kept drumming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's literally where well, I should say I technically started with piano, but I
Mhm.
started with music. It is
It's number one.
even with my daddy issues, like music is the root of everything. So I don't yeah.
That's.
I'm not
I had
gonna
a
become
feeling
a singer either. Like that's not happening.
you'll leave that to Dolly. But I had a feeling you'd say drumming. I did. I had a feeling.
What made you
Yeah.
think that? What made you think that?
Maybe I sensed that in you. I mean, you just told me a lot more than I knew from our
Mhm.
previous conversations. But, well, for example, when you were fairly recently between bands,
Mm.
you were about to jump out of your skin, it seemed like. You were not a
Yeah.
happy camper, so to speak.
Yeah.
And, just
It's
your,
my release for sure.
yes, yes, for sure.
I didn't have any anger problems during that time period, not really, but a lot of my drumming comes from
Yeah,
anger when I was a kid.
yeah. And
And
expressing it.
I had some yeah. And I don't think I was like an angry kid. I shouldn't say that, but I had some issues, like, and that was a way for me to
Hmm.
yeah, to get it
It was
out.
a healthy outlet. Yeah.
Yeah, and at times it wasn't a
Hmm.
healthy outlet because it got out of
Mm.
control. So
Oh, wow.
it took a couple years to kind of balance it all out. But now it's
Hmm.
like whether I'm angry, whether I'm happy, it's like I
Mm.
want to drum. When I'm happy, I want to
Hmm.
drum. When I'm angry, I want to drum. It's weird.
Hmm.
Like it's like my
It's in your
go-to.
blood.
It's my drug for everything. Yeah.
It's
And
in
there
your
was
blood.
actually a moment even in high school. I did a show and it was like my first what felt like to me like my first rock concert, but it wasn't rock, it was
Mm.
actually funk. But it was like for all these other high school kids, and I remember them chanting my name like, "Daddy, Daddy," and it
Oh,
was
that's a
like
rush.
and we were a big band, and it was like this huge audience. Yeah, it was a huge rush, and as a
Yeah, no
kid, I
doubt.
was like, "I'm unstoppable, man." Like, I had like 100 and it was kinda hot that it was a bunch of girls chanting my name like, "Daddy, Daddy," because it was like these, like, cute girls that were chanting my name, not the dudes' names, and then also, like, I was bullied by girls for so long, like, the pretty girls
Mm,
bullied me, so I was like, "This is crazy," but I just remember feeling so high in that moment that I
empowered.
felt like I never need to do drugs ever. I
Right.
really felt like
Just
this
drum.
that
Yeah.
nothing will ever feel better than this,
Yeah.
ever.
I know that you have, would you call it a dream, a goal, or a plan to create an immersive interactive art experience along the lines of Meow Wolf? Because I can see this as an outlet of how you could employ, really like braid together all of this varied skill set, all this creative skill set. And it also aligns with your focus on community building too. So is
100%.
that a dream, a goal, or a plan? And do you want to discuss that dream, goal, or plan?
Um, it's definitely a dream. And if it was a plan, I probably wouldn't discuss it very much. I would keep it a secret. No,
Ah.
it is a
Hmm.
dream. Whenever I make a goal, there's always a plan, like, because that happens simultaneously when I'm strategizing. And once you make that goal specific and measurable, I immediately start jumping to how we gonna do it. What's the tactic, right? Or tactics. But this is a dream that I have just kind of floating in the background. And every once in a while I'll see like a grant opportunity pop up or something where I'm like, oh, this might be the time to do it. And I'm like, shoot, I can't right now, you know.
Hmm.
And so I'm kind of trusting the universe that there will it will have its time. It will have its moment when I can do it. And I of course, like in my dream, it's huge. It's like Beowulf because it's a giant warehouse that I'm going to transform, and I'm going to have like endless money to do it, right? Although, of course, in the back of my mind, I'm also thinking like, how many communities could you help with that endless money? So there's that too, of course. But I do think it would be the ultimate way for me to combine all of my skills.
Exactly.
It would be the best way to bring people together, artists and audiences, and
Mhm.
make the audiences artists, like spect actors, like I mentioned
Mhm.
before, and make the artists make them participants in an audience kind of form.
Mhm.
Let them take a step back and see what other people create and how they not just interact. Like I love that about immersive art spaces. You get to push buttons and there's secret doors and all these fun things. But I'm like, how can they actually help make the space artistic, preferably without using AI? Because I definitely have thought about that too. But no.
Ugh. Mm.
I'm actually thinking about adding to my bio that I am a non-AI person. The problem is my
Yeah.
biggest fear is that I'm using technology that's using AI and
Right.
I don't realize it.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to do
Exactly.
my research to know when I'm in Photoshop which tools I'm
Yeah.
using that are not tapping into
Right.
the AI databases.
Yeah.
Anyhow, that's a whole other thing. But anyhow, I would love to create a space where people who come to the space are somehow leaving their mark and feeling ownership over it, like really feeling
Mhm.
ownership over it.
Mhm. Mhm.
And where it's highly visual, super visually stimulating, but there's also this music element because you know there for me there's got to be music.
Gotta be
There's
music.
a theatrical element. That's a thing that I feel like a lot
Mhm.
of immersive art spaces are lacking. Why
Mhm.
is I mean you've got sometimes like I think at Meow Wolf for example, when you go into what's it called, the supermart, the big grocery store. I think it's called supermart, but you go they have this big grocery store within the Meow Wolf that's got all like eggplants with eyeballs and silly things like that, right?
I haven't
And
been actually, so,
it's amazing,
maybe
it's amazing,
I need a
and
tutorial on Meow Wolf.
you actually, you know, when you go through the gift shop, like, you actually
Mhm.
you can buy things in the grocery store. It's all, like, props and funny things, but you can actually buy things
Mhm.
too, and so you can go up to the
It's like
register.
a gift shop. Mhm.
Yeah, like a gift shop, right? And
Cool.
and then you have staff members who are dressed like they work in the grocery
Mhm.
store. So
Ah!
it doesn't say Meow Wolf on their shirt,
Mhm.
it says the supermart.
Mhm.
I'm like, this could be there's so much theatrical
Right.
possibility here.
Right. Right.
And that I love
Mm.
environmental theater. I would love
Mhm.
it if like, oh no, one of the eggplants is crying. What are we gonna do with the eggplant? You know, like why isn't there like there this other component? So,
Mhm.
you know, I it's gotta be theatrical. So it's gotta be highly visually stimulating, that's interactive and where people are actually creating the space. It's gotta have music, it's gotta have theater. Totally could include film components too, of course.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, it's like it'll have all the things that
All
I
the
do.
things, all
It'll
the
have
Danny
all the
menu.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
love it.
totally. And it'll have like a stupid amount of artists working on it and everyone's going to get paid way more than they're worth, which is awesome. And I mean, I say that, it's like Janet, my co-host of our podcast, she's always saying like I totally, like, deserve $1,000,000, like, I totally have earned
Mhm.
that, like, just the way
Yeah.
she talks about it, like, it's like, "Well, yeah, no, I'm gonna manifest that, and, like, that is what I'm worth, and more,
Mhm.
so it's like so I don't even wanna say that, like, you get paid more than they're worth, but, like, what America deems is valuable for the, typical artist, or I don't even know what typical artist means, but you see what I'm saying, like,
I do.
everyone's gonna
Yeah.
get paid.
Paid well.
Yeah.
And at the beginning, you used the phrase like unlimited amount of money or something to that effect.
Yeah.
And then you said, but all these people I could feed are all these good causes. But if it
Right.
was unlimited amount of money,
That's
Danny,
true, that's true.
you could
In
do
my utopia actually, in my
all of it.
utopia, there wouldn't even be money, right? There would just in my utopia, money wouldn't even wanna be a thing.
I hear artists sometimes say, because of the current climate, so to speak, why make art right now? And I say it's the best time to make art
Yeah.
because art reflects history. Think about how we know anything about any culture from the past. We're digging up the artifacts, we're digging up the art and the buildings, the columns, whatever, that someone designed
Mhm.
and carved. So whether you're at the one extreme of artivism and you're using your, let's say if someone's a painter or whatever, and you're doing very literal, like let's say political satire or something.
Mhm, mhm.
Or if you're at the other end and you're presenting someone with a peaceful landscape because they need, like you said earlier, sometimes you have to turn the news off, just to give your brain a break. You're presenting a beautiful, passive, meditative landscape to give someone that respite, that is its own form of reaction to some of the intensity that's going on right now.
Mhm.
So where do you stand on that? Like, I think any time's a good time to make art, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm
You
like,
know,
"Who's asking that question?" Like, "Why make art now?" I'm like, "Because we always have, and we always should."
and
Like,
we always
the
have and we
I'm
always
like,
should.
"Who's suggesting that we shouldn't make art right now?" Like, I mean, that's it. I
It's a
don't know.
question that I'm seeing like on Instagram and so forth. I think, and I can't speak for them, and there's more than one person posing this question,
Mhm.
but I think it must be rooted in the idea of if it feels trivial to them. But to me, art is never trivial. It doesn't have to be
See.
Guernica. It could
Yeah.
be. It could be Guernica. It doesn't have to be. Art's never trivial.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's been periods where craft making, for example, where it was like, oh, well, now you can just buy hot pads on Amazon way cheaper and faster than trying to make them yourself, or
Mm,
weaving baskets. Like you can just get a plastic container now instead of weaving a
mm,
basket. Like, there was a period, I think in the 80s, where it felt like craft making wasn't as appreciated, valued as much. And then I think in a way it kind of came back because people realized it's like, no, it's nice to have
mhm.
handmade things. It's
Exactly.
special. It feels like you're touching a part of ancestry in a way. This
Mhm.
is how our ancestors did it.
Right.
I don't need 20 different cups. I can have just two that are handmade. That's the thing too, is like we feel like we always need like a
Mhm.
million things, right? But I think that there's a million reasons why we should make art always, not just right now, just always.
Always, yeah.
And whether it is something decorative, whether it's something that is meditative,
Mhm.
whether it's something that's going to be a tool for social change, or a cup that I can drink
Mhm.
water out of,
Mhm.
um, whether I'm intentionally making it political or whether it's still going to be political no matter what. Yes, even your hot pad can be political. It can be a
Sure.
statement depending on, again, how deep you want to get into it.
Mhm.
There's a million reasons for me, but it's a tool. Art is a
Mhm.
tool, always a tool. That's why I'm an artivist. Even my
Mhm.
drumming and fostering community at a show and spreading love to actually like growing things in a community garden, which might not sound very artistic, but there's definitely artistic elements to it. In fact, at our community garden, we made a zine, which is really, really cool. And the zine, we got all sorts of people to participate in it, and we got these beautiful watercolor vegetables in it, all sorts of things in it that actually like planting seeds and feeding people. There's so many ways that art can be a tool in my life.
And that's gotta be so rewarding.
Oh, yeah. It's way more meaningful than me, like, trying to write a script and produce it and convince a lot of people to invest in it. When I made a feature film and I'm super proud of it, but after that film, I was like, you know, there might
Mm,
have been a better use of this money and my time, but I wouldn't have known that
mm.
unless I made the film. But
Exactly.
so it's like I'm so glad I
Exactly.
made it. I'm not
Yeah,
regretting anything about it, but it
right.
just made me think if I were to do this again, how would I do this where it's more meaningful, where it's not just
Mhm,
me trying to bring a story to life out of my
mhm,
brain. Even though it's fun to do. It's fun to shoot a movie and people like the amount of people who participated in that movie that made no money in the process,
mhm.
and they
Right,
just did it
right.
because they were like, it's fun, let's do it. And I was like, great. Yeah. So
Yay.
that's why there's so many horror movies just because 'cause they're fun to do. They're fun to make, and that's
Right.
still building community, and and for some people who work a desk job from 9 to 5 and hate their job, I don't wanna say they hate
Yeah.
their life, they need to go put on fake blood and die in a
Oh,
movie
yeah.
to feel like
Make a horror movie.
that life is worth living and meaningful and something to look forward to, and I'm like, "Cool, that's your outlet, that's awesome." A super awesome reason to make art if it just keeps you alive.
Have you
Yeah.
thought about making a film about the garden and the nutrition aspect and
We'll definitely do like a little promotional video,
yeah.
little like just
Mhm,
a short video. I've been in the process of putting something together, but like a full documentary or like a
mhm,
narrative project, no,
mhm,
but just something to help showcase because next year I really want to recruit more volunteers and that will help in recruitment.
mhm.
Yeah.
And something that you said about, the handmade and the value in that.
Mhm.
I've heard that as AI has become such a thing. Insert eye roll here from me. Yeah. And like you
Bleh,
say, though, it's like
bleh.
inescapable at this point. But you could always say not intentionally using AI or something like that.
Yes.
But anyway,
Yeah, I've been trying to figure out how to
yeah.
phrase it. Yeah, but
Yeah. Because
exactly.
we're on the same page about that. But there's definitely a movement towards the handmade, towards the nostalgic of the earth, yeah, kind of a vintage
Oh.
feel, you know, as kind of a backlash against AI, I think, or what have you. Much like as when digital photography became a thing,
Yeah, yeah. Truth.
there was a knee jerk reaction back towards people liking the darkroom work, and the pinhole photography became popular again. So the heirloom look, that and that handmade, just
Mhm.
know that that pendulum swing, there's that balance out there. So
Yeah.
you've traveled around the world, you've lived abroad, you mentioned how when we first met you were living in Mexico. So how do you feel that travel expands the creative process, especially through the lens of artivism, I would say, because then it becomes like a global thing and not just a
Mhm.
a local or national thing. And of all the places you've been, what is your favorite and why?
Ooh, Mexico.
See,
Yeah.
you've told me in the past that Vietnam was your favorite place.
I did not live in Vietnam, but as far as, like, visits and travel, yeah,
Yeah, visits
Vietnam,
and travel, I
I
meant,
only got
yeah.
to stay there I only was there a few weeks. Wow. Yeah, no, as far as, like, beauty, I had no idea. I had no idea.
Mhm,
I was blown away, and I that was one of those moments where I really was I felt so close to nature,
mm,
and I'm with these people who are so close to nature and who live so minimalist and who
mm,
are very poor. They were very, very poor.
mhm,
And but we were very happy. Man, and
mhm,
maybe they weren't always happy, but like in our time together, there was just a lot of appreciation and joy for the earth. And
mm,
we were in Sapa Valley too, which was horribly affected
mm.
by um Orange.
Oh,
So the way that the land has come back,
mm,
and the people are maybe not thriving, but the way that the land has recovered and the produce has recovered is pretty astonishing. There's that
Wow.
word. There's that word astonish.
Yeah, there's that word.
Yeah, wow, that and I literally was on top of that mountain. I
Mm,
climbed the highest point of Indochina, and I'm at the top of this mountain. That's when I was like, I feel like I'm supposed to go to Germany. And then I ended up in Germany and I ended up living in Germany. And that's kind of honestly how it feels sometimes. Like I just kind of get this feeling of like, I'm supposed to go to Mexico. And I'm like, okay, let's go to Mexico for a while. And now here I am living in Lynchburg, which was never, I never thought the wind would steer me to Lynchburg. So uh traveling is so important for all humans, not just artists.
I agree.
And you don't have to be a nomad like me. You need to be the other sometimes. Being in Vietnam, I was the other. When you go to Vietnam, I mean, when they have these memorials from the
Mhm.
war, it does
Yeah.
not refer to the United States as the United States. It refers to us
Okay.
as the enemy. So when you
Oh,
say the enemy
right.
in Vietnamese, that is understood as being the United States.
Mhm.
And so when it's very obvious you're from the United States, and I was not
Mhm.
going to pretend I was from Canada, although I had debated it. I was like, no,
Crossed your mind.
I am gonna own this. I'm gonna own
Yeah.
this. And at
Mhm.
times it was like, how's this gonna go down? I think when you travel more, you're just gonna learn more about culture
Mhm.
and cultural responsiveness,
Yeah.
how you respond to culture, different beliefs, different values. And so as a
Right.
result, you're going to be a more empathetic and compassionate
Yeah.
person. You're not going to be like, right, we're so polarized in the US, and it's like if you go to other countries, you can make friends that have different faith and have different
Mhm.
politics, have completely different value systems.
Mhm.
And there's still joy, and there's, humanity. There's still so much more we have in common
Commonality, yeah.
yeah,
Right.
commonality before politics and religion and
Right.
so yeah, thinking back about the enemy, it's like how can we experience different types of humans and see how we're all human,
Mhm.
and it's going to give you lots of ideas. I'm not encouraging cultural appropriation, but it's
Right.
going to expand your thinking creatively as far as speaking of to artists and why artists should travel. It's going to
Mhm.
expand your
Mhm.
knowledge of your craft by seeing how it's utilized in different,
Mhm.
and I mean utilized like as a tool, like thinking about how your
Mhm.
art has been used as a tool in history in these different locales. Yeah.
And that Mark Twain quote about travel, I love.
What's that quote again?
About I actually meant to look it up before I chatted with you. It's something along the lines of it's the antidote for bigotry and
Mm.
narrow-mindedness.
There's a lot of fear right now.
A lot of fear right now. So, how do you think of fear, the role of fear
Mhm.
in artivism? I mean, I would think it would be a motivating factor.
Yeah, truth.
Like, if X or Y doesn't change, I'm afraid of A, B, or C, that sort of
Mhm.
thing.
Mhm. I
So,
personally do not
fear.
use shame. I do not use anger, and
Yeah.
I try not to instill fear. That's
Yeah.
why in like our podcast Reflect Recalibrate, we always ask this utopia question. We're really
Hmm.
trying to encourage positive envisioning and inspiring change. It's like I try really hard not to do any fear mongering.
Good.
Um,
Yeah.
I am with my students. I try really hard to encourage them to think of like these girls I'm working with over at Deerington Elementary School, trying to really encourage them to come up with posters and positive messaging. Like if we were to do a billboard or a mural
Hmm.
that is positive, that's like how can we inspire change and invite people to look at your work but still get them to think and
Hmm.
potentially even change their minds, even change their perspective, shift their mindset. That's hard to do. It's hard to like see behavioral
Hmm.
change in someone as a result of just a visual piece of art, but it is possible. So like
Hmm.
how can we do that instead of putting a really scary image up there that
Yeah.
instills fear?
Right.
and makes a person feel like, "Okay, I gotta do something," but what?
Mhm.
What?
Mhm.
Like, being very clear of, like, encouraging someone to do something, but not out of fear, but out of hope, out of, excitement even.
Mhm.
Like,
Absolutely.
get people excited. Like, that's the thing that's cool about creative and artistic activism is it gets people excited to participate because it
Mhm.
looks kind of fun, hopefully, you know? So that's what I try to do, but I don't wanna sound like arguing that anger and shame doesn't have a place. This is why I'd like to write a book about it because I'm like, I
Mhm.
think sometimes we
Explore it.
have to get angry. We have to use shame in order to get attention, in order
Mm.
for people to listen. I do wonder if sometimes that's the only way. So
Mm.
that's what I'd like to explore. I don't know, but I don't
Mm.
know.
Maybe it's about a mix of, and targeting your audience depending on who they are
Yeah,
rather than
yeah.
just doing one tone, one emotional
Mhm.
note, across the board. I don't know,
Yeah,
you know?
that's when you can have one campaign with one SMART goal, but you can have
Mhm.
multiple strategies and see which one ends up being the most effective.
There you go,
For
multiple
sure.
strategies. Yeah.
So
Mhm.
here's what happens with shame. And I don't study shame, but there's people who do,
Mhm.
and they will talk about this. When you shame someone, there's a greater chance that you're going to push them away.
Sure. Of course, because it's uncomfortable. Who wants to feel
It's
that? No one. Yeah.
exactly, and that's
Mhm.
why I don't think I personally don't think shame is effective, and that's why I
Yeah.
don't use it.
Yeah.
Um, and I see a lot of activists right now that that's what they
Mhm.
do, and
Yeah,
I'm like,
sure.
this is probably why there's so much distance between the two parties, is because we just keep
Mm.
wanting to shame each other, and we're
Mm.
not getting anywhere because we keep pushing everyone further and further away.
Mhm.
How can we actually bring people together
Mhm.
and dialogue, which is what I keep coming back to, and fostering community? Like when
Yep.
I am a musician, I love it when I see all sorts of different people in the room. That makes me so happy. That makes me feel
Mhm.
successful. So shame pushes people away, and then there's less chance of an action happening. If
Mhm.
you really humiliate someone, embarrass them, there's a greater chance that they're going to get defensive, they're going to
Sure.
get angry, things are going to escalate, and we're not going
Mhm.
to get anywhere. We're not going to
Right.
solve any problems here.
Right.
Yeah. So when I do a protest march, I think about how are we inviting people into the protest. Like my wall, I used to have the a flag from one protest that I did that was to stop building pipelines.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I was actually not super, super involved in this protest. I was more of like kind of a third party participant in a way you could say. I was like learning more about pipelines. I came to this protest because I was very intrigued to learn from native tribal leaders
Mhm.
who were there,
Mhm.
indigenous groups that were there, because it was mostly indigenous people at this protest. I was very
Mhm.
curious to learn their perspective of
Mhm.
the pipelines and what it was doing.
Right.
And I never seen a protest march so beautiful before. It was
Mm.
so the props, the costumes, the puppetry. Oh my gosh, the like the
Mm.
everything was just amazing. And not marionettes, what's the word I'm looking for? The big headpieces,
Oh, yeah.
like these huge cardboard, like, characters and creatures that these
Mhm.
people would wear on top of their heads, and I
Yeah.
can't think of the name right now of that, but it was so cool. It was so colorful, and a lot
Mhm.
of it was made from recycled and repurposed stuff, which was
Oh, that's
really,
cool.
really cool. Many indigenous people were also wearing native wear, which was beautiful.
Mhm.
So anyhow, that was really, really cool, and when people are looking at us as we're marching, they're like, "This is cool." Like, "I don't even know what this is yet, and I wanna get involved in it," and the
And they were
music was good.
open. Yeah.
Yeah, and the music was so good, and people were dancing,
Mhm.
and it was like, we're protesting something, but we're also celebrating something, and I was like, "This is an interesting," because it was very
Mhm.
much a protest against building pipelines,
Mhm.
but it also felt like a party, and I was like,
Yeah.
that's where I was like, "You know what? Sometimes protests aren't super effective in making change, but they're really effective
Mhm.
in building energy and building community, of course, but
Mhm.
also building energy And it's like,
Mhm.
okay, now that we got all these people together, now let's actually talk about the next step of what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
How we're gonna make 5 calls to our leaders or how, whatever it is.
Mhm.
So, but that was cool seeing people standing in DC watching us marching down, and they were like, "I'm gonna
Mm.
follow this. This is cool." And it was smart. They did it during a lunch hour. So people
Oh.
literally took their lunch and just started walking and eating their
Oh,
lunch and
that's pretty
started hanging
awesome.
out with us. I was like, "This is great." So now it's like we're even bringing food into it. Like we're bringing people together.
Mhm.
So I was like, that to me is very effective artivism is when it's really inviting and welcoming and not
Mhm.
shaming, not
I
like
agree. Yeah.
yelling and making people feel like jerks if they don't walk with you. Like,
Right.
no, that's not.
This is
Yeah.
off-putting,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where if you're like, "Oh, look, this is colorful and fun and the music's
Yeah.
great," or whatever, it's like, what they're gonna be open to hearing your point of view, I think. And as you were talking, I was thinking, well, drumming is universal. Every culture has drumming, right?
You have a heartbeat also. Like everyone's a
Heartbeat is
drummer.
the original drum. Yeah.
Everyone knows rhythm.
Yeah, that's right. And of course, food. Everybody eats. And when you travel, what do you want to taste the food, right? Or in so forth. So here are two aspects of that community building that are real focal points for you. The drumming from day one, virtually with you, but then more recently with the nutrition and planting the food and getting your hands in the dirt with the kids. Those are community building aspects or
Hmm. Hmm.
community building tools, focal points from day one in every culture. So, yay.
Yay. Yeah.
They seem like good outlets for you
Yeah.
since
And
that
and if I
is
can at least pay bills too, then I'm
that's
feeling
also
good
good.
about life. I'm feeling
Yeah,
good about life. But yeah,
that's very
everything I
helpful.
do is a very good outlet. Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to wake up early on a Saturday morning to go to the garden. I won't lie. Some mornings I'm like, "Oh, okay." Especially if I did a show Friday night. It's like,
I
"Okay."
bet.
But, once I'm there, I'm like, "Oh, even if I'm just shoveling dirt for a day, I'm like, this is great." Like I never when I was a kid, if you asked me like, you want to shovel some dirt at 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning? No. But now I'm like, I get it now. I get it. But yeah, everything that I do is incredibly, incredibly rewarding. And even when I have imposter syndrome really bad, and even when money is really tight. I'm really grateful if I can still go play drums, especially with people, not by myself. That's yeah.
And the thing about community drumming, I'm sure you already know this, but they've done studies
Oh yeah.
that your killer T cells, which are the beneficial ones for your health, the numbers go up when you are drumming, not by yourself, but you have to be drumming with a group.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. And I
I'm
think that's fascinating.
I'll just tell you this. You don't meet many drummers with dementia, Alzheimer's, drummers are youthful, and we use so much of our brain and our coordination too. Like literally
Hmm.
all different parts of our brain light up when we're doing drumming. But it's
That's
a
cool.
very youthful activity, and I think other art
Mm.
forms are too. Dance
Hmm.
especially, for sure. But I think that, if you can have, like I said earlier, that art form that keeps you alive,
Hmm.
but also actually keeps you alive, like keeps your brain fresh, keeps you healthy, like
Absolutely.
mentally and physically. Drumming and dancing is how I stay fit.
And visual arts too. There are studies on
Oh yeah.
how that keeps your brain active so I was thinking it was Jean Claude. Um, she said artists don't ever retire. We just keep, creating.
Yeah.
We keep
Yeah.
painting or whatever we do.
Yeah. Unless you're from
And
Guinea, West Africa, then maybe it's a little
that's what
different there.
exactly. That's what I was thinking
But
when you were talking about what that gentleman shared.
yeah.
I thought about that Jean Claude
Yeah.
quote because it was so
Yeah.
opposite of
Yeah.
what I plan to do is just keep creating forever.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
And I cut you off about Mexico too because I expected you to say Vietnam. So, but Mexico is your favorite place you've ever
Yes.
lived. Yeah.
Yes, and I when I was in Mexico, like, I don't really have a lot of beliefs in past lives, and, I'm not a very spiritual person, but there's little things that I think that are, spiritual. I've never really been able to, like, title myself as far as, like, spirituality and religion goes, but when I was in Mexico, it was weird. Like, I was like, I feel like I've lived here before. I felt
Mm,
such a strong connection to the
mm,
people, but even the neighborhood that I lived in, it was funny too. Like my friend Donnie, and her same name as me, it's just pronounced differently.
mm.
When I first met her, I was just there at her Airbnb, and I was only there for a few days, and we were talking, and she meets people all the time that come in and out and come and go,
Sure. Yeah.
but we
She
were
runs a BB. Yeah.
talking, and it was funny, like, I was sick too, I got food poisoning, and it
Oh
was like,
no.
it turned out to be a terrible trip.
Oh
But
no.
I was there, and I was talking to her, and she was like, "You'll be back," because I think she was trying to make me feel better about how I got
Oh
sick,
yeah.
and, "You'll have another
Mm,
opportunity to come back and do this properly." And I was like, "Yeah, I really, really hope so." And she was like, "No, I think you really will be back." And I was like, I appreciate you saying that because I just have this sense that yeah, I'm not supposed to leave actually.
oh wow.
And she was like, "We'll be in touch." And then,
Wow.
it was weird, like we didn't really talk after that, but we ended up being Facebook friends. And
Mm-hmm.
then when the earthquake happened in Mexico City, I reached out to her and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I was living in Germany at the time. I was like, "How are you doing?" And so that kind of sparked a conversation again. And then when the pandemic hit, I was like, "Hey, how are you doing?" And she's like, "Well, I not really going to be making any money off my Airbnb right now, so I'm not really sure
That's
how I'm gonna
very true.
not really sure
Yeah.
how I'm gonna pay rent." And then I was like, "Well, I don't qualify for unemployment because I've been living in Germany and I just moved back to the States." And then the pandemic hit, and I was like, "I can't qualify for unemployment because I haven't been paying taxes for 2 years." And I was like,
Mm,
"I don't know what I'm gonna do either." And she's like,
mm.
"Well, if you ever need a place to stay, you can come here." And I was like, "I'm coming right now."
Oh
You know,
wow.
and so I went, and it was kind of amazing. I was even able to get a flight there,
Oh yeah, for sure.
but I went, and I told her, and she agreed. Like, she was like, "We both had this sense that I was supposed to be there, and honestly, I never
Mm,
wanted to leave." And I
mm-hmm.
and I tried to go back, in fact, and if it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
for meeting my lovely boyfriend and having some family things happen where it caused me to
Yeah.
be in Lynchburg, I would definitely be in Mexico for sure. But I just
Mm-hmm.
was like, just even walking through the neighborhood and everything, I was just like, I just feel like I've been here before, or there was just such a calling to be there. And I never had
Mm-hmm.
that experience anywhere else. And I've traveled a lot and I've lived in a lot of
Mm-hmm.
different places. And I don't feel nostalgic about Germany. Like, I loved Vietnam, but I'm not necessarily nostalgic
Mm-hmm.
about it. But
Mm-hmm.
Mexico, I am.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I miss it
Mm.
horribly.
I've heard repeatedly that Mexico is very magical.
Oh yeah.
And it's just kind of like this energetic undercurrent
Yeah.
throughout the country.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
cenotes look so cool.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So fun. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're all the women surrealists too who were attracted to be there. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
super
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining me for this chat. As
Yeah.
always, it's incredible to talk to you. So, for one thing, I'm going to make sure to put your website in the notes for
Thank
the
you.
video. And also, you had sent me a link, a YouTube link for an example of your drumming, which I would also like to share with the creative community here. Any other places where people could see your work?
I mean, if people want to follow me on Instagram, they can
Mm-hmm.
at DannieSnyder. That's Dannie Snyder. I spelled Danny weird, so there's only one me, Danny.
It's like Highlander, there can be only one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Only one Danny.
Yeah. Truth. Yeah. But
And
yeah, other than
yeah.
that, I mean, I'm on Facebook and some things, but like Instagram is probably the best way to keep up with all the different initiatives
Hmm.
that I'm doing. Even my cat videos, which are helping me
No,
to gain traction on my other things, which I'm okay with.
I have heard that you post your art, but you stick your cat in there,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it'll go viral if you put your cat in there.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I haven't tried that combo. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. And good luck with the next step on your creative journey with your artivism. Oh, and everybody check out the Reflect Recalibrate podcast
Oh,
too.
yes, please,
I
please.
will
Yeah.
definitely put that link as well
Thank you
in
so
the show
much.
notes. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. If you enjoyed today's art conversation, I invite you to subscribe to my channel. Go ahead and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss the next one. And please like this video because these are all great ways for you to support my channel and help it to grow so that I can continue to bring you more creative content just like this. If you're an existing subscriber, thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. I'm delighted to have you on board. I'll see everyone next time. Yay!
Good. Yay.